Welcome to the Wednesday weekend wrap-up. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Weekend Wednesday wrap-up, where I record it on a weekend and release it on a Wednesday. Let's get you caught up real quick. I had a rush order that was presented to me from a client up in Edmond, which is north of me, about 35 minutes. And he had a cabinet that he purchased from, I guess it was like a discount cabinet store or maybe a Habitat for Humanity kind of thing. But when it arrived to me, it had the letters HAPE with a heart that kind of had an arrow pointing to the middle of it. Never seen it before, don't know what the word HAPE means. But we decided that it needed to be refinished to a different color, and he wanted the letters removed with his logo put at the top where those letters once were. So I took that job on. I had 2 days to get it done. So what I did is paint it the color of my fast cap tape measure, because that's the color he chose. We were just trying to decide what shade of green he wanted. He saw my tape measure and he goes, that. So I had to take that to Sherwin-Williams to get matched. Took me 2 hours to get that done. Several tries to get it just right, but it came out great. He loved the color. And then I had to take a couple of pieces of boards that I had glued together to make the width that I need to cut out his logo. Now, my CNC machine is only a 12 by 12 cutting area, which is a little bit too small for a logo this size. The letters were 6 or 7 inches, 7 inches tall, but the Oklahoma sign at the very end was about 11 inches, and I also had it like 36 inches long, and in order to make it fast and easy and to make sure that everything lined up, because otherwise I would have had to tile mine, and they don't always line up if you're not careful, I took it to a friend at Rock Creek Workshop by the name of John Watkins, and he has an Axiom Precision CNC machine that has a cutting surface of 24 by 48 or 25 by 48, something like that. And we just put that one plank on there, and it cut the entire thing out in one pass. I didn't have to tile anything, so that made it very, very quick, very, very nice. And I had to cut 2 logos out to go on either side. The logos needed to be painted white, and like I said, the cabinet was green. The shelves didn't need to be painted, but I think it came out perfect, and he was happy, very, very happy when I delivered it. I've also been working on a mosaic style cutting board, a little bit chaotic, more mosaic, and I'm actually finishing up that cutting board right now, getting it ready for shipment on Monday. But I also have a walnut and maple cutting board build that I got an order from on my website. I'm going to try and get that done this week and deliver it at the end of the week. It's actually from a former employee of mine. His wife bought it on my website as a surprise. He likes to cook, loves to cook actually, and she's going to surprise him with it. So I think that's a really cool gift, and I do have some in-stock boards. If any of you guys are interested in buying some cutting boards, check out my website. You'll find a whole bunch that I have in stock, and I can make anything that you want. But let me show you something real quick that I think you guys might like. Now, finger holds are pretty much essential on super thick and heavy cutting boards, and you have to accomplish that by using a router or a router table. A router table is probably the easiest method and also probably the safest, since you're not having to balance a handheld router on a small edge of a cutting board. So I'm going to show you a quick setup method that you can use to batch cut a bunch of finger holds on the same size board, and then you can just adjust these for different sizes and batch cut those as well. It's very easy to set up. Let me show you. Now, the board that I have right back here is just a mock-up. I've just got it clamped in place. It's just 2 pieces of maple that aren't even glued together, so this is just a demonstration. So the router table is at the end of my table saw, and it utilizes the table saw fence. So generally, finger holds stop about 1 to 2 inches from the end of a board. So in order to figure out where you need to stop your board at across the bit, you need to mark it on your fence. So what I've done is I've taken the fence and moved it over the center of the bit opening. And you can mark the center of the bit, but it's not necessary. And then just measure from where the edge of the bit is at, not the center, where the edge of the bit is at over how far you want it to stop. And in my case, it was 1 inch. So 1 inch from the edge of the bit, I drew a line using my speed square. I did the same thing on the other side of the bit because I need it to stop at the other end of the board, 1 inch away. Once you have that, move your fence back, take your board, set it up to where you're going to be able to hit the center of your cutting board. And you're not going to be able to get 2 passes out of this, so you've got to be pretty precise. Using an eyeball method is pretty accurate, but if you want to get specific, you can use a measuring device of some method. Now that you have your reference marks, take your board and then put it right at the edge of that mark. So your bit's going to stop right about here, and you have about 1 inch left over, and you know that because you put a reference mark on your fence. Then take you a stop block and butt it up to the other edge, and then clamp that in place. Doing the same thing, moving your board this direction, putting it to the reference mark here, 1 inch away from where the bit is at, and then take you another stop block and butt it up to that edge. Clamp both of those in place. Then all you have to do is butt your piece up to that stop block with the router bit running, and then plunge it into the bit. And you might have to ramp it back and forth as the cutting board sinks down onto the bit. Don't take too deep a pass on this because your bit might not be able to handle it. So maybe go a 1/16 of an inch depth each time until you get to the 1/4 inch depth, which is what I like. And then you won't have to burn your material or put stress on your bit. So butt it up to that stop block and then ramp it into place back and forth while you're pushing up against the fence. And then once your board bottoms out onto your table, butt it up to that stop block back here to where it's perfectly 1 inch away, and then just push it along your bit until you hit your other stop block. Kill your router and then lift your piece off, and then you will have a finger groove on that edge of your board, centered and 1 inch away on both sides. And because you have a stop block set up like this, if you have multiple boards, you can batch cut them all out. Now another finger hold method that requires a lot less setup and also adds a lot of different kind of character, a unique factor to a cutting board, is a 360-degree finger groove. What I mean by that is that the groove goes all the way around the cutting board. So you can just set it up as far as the depth goes, run it through on all 4 sides, just turning it clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever you like, until you meet the groove that you started with on your 4th pass. And that way, if you have a huge board and it's kind of bulky to grab in a certain way, it doesn't matter because they would have a groove all the way around that they can grab. And even though this board's not very big, it's about a 12 by 18 or 20, but it doesn't matter what position it gets into because I can grab it in any position that I want. And it's something that's kind of unique that I don't see a lot of people doing with their cutting board. So you might give this a try. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that particular episode. Sorry it's a little short and sweet this week, but I will be starting on another project next week, and should be a barn door setup, I hope. Depends on when the client can get it paid. So I guess I will see you guys on the next episode. Take care. Boom!